Hello beautiful people, welcome back to the channel. Today is just going to be a fun video where I go through all the lenses that I own, maybe where I got them, the applications that they serve me, and yeah, just what I think. It's just kind of fun. There's like nothing fancy here. There's actually no cinema lenses. They're all basically photography lenses because I do a hybrid of both photography and video. And if you stick around to the end, I will tell you about my absolute favorite lens in the entire world, which we are filming with now, so I couldn't have it on the table, but we'll save that one for last. And then also I have sort of a little, I'm going to give away like a secret that people have actually reached out to me over the years about, and I've just refused to tell anybody because I was kind of like, I don't want to give away my signature thing, but I'm going to give it away in this video, so we'll also save that to the end. So starting with, let's just start with like maybe the cheapest lens in the batch, which is going to be this Canon RF mount 50mm lens. And this lens I got with the Canon EOS R6. It came as a package, and then it's like a pretty fast lens. It's a 1.8 50mm. I honestly have not used this lens a ton. I've used it for like a B cam on a documentary. I've used it for a photography gig where I just needed a second camera with a fast lens on it for low light, and it works pretty good for that. Yeah, cool little lens. It is small, so if you do need something kind of low profile and you want to just mount it straight onto an RF mount, and I can't remember the price for this standalone, but I don't think it's very expensive. I think it's around $350, maybe $300 even. So that's that lens, and I have an embarrassingly large amount of 50mm because I just like the way that people look on 50mm. You know, everybody's got their own signature, their own style. Some people are like super wide shooters, some people shoot with zoom lenses, you know. It just depends on what you like and what you do, and that's what I like. So we're gonna move on now to the only L series lens that I own, which is the Canon 16 to 35mm 2.8 version 1. This is the original, and if you look, there's actually like a really significant ding there, and it's really a bummer because number one, I can't screw on any ND filters or even my matte box. So this lens is kind of a challenge to shoot with sometimes, but I actually use it a lot. And I do have an adapter that sits on the back where you can put ND in there. So this lens you have to shoot with ND in the back. It is what it is, but the things I use this lens for are primarily stuff that I want to be really safe in terms of focus, and then also if I need anything really wide, because it is full frame 16mm. I bought the lens in Philadelphia at Unique Photo, which is downtown. If you're ever in the Philadelphia area, I do highly recommend you check that place out, and they have some pretty good deals, especially on like refurbished lenses. Recently I've used this on like some travel videos. I use this on my lip dub videos, which if you don't know what a lip dub is, it's basically like a music video that a school will do. It's kind of a bizarre phenomenon, but I use this lens entirely because we shoot that on a gimbal, and I can zoom in, zoom out, go from like 16 super wide if I need to see the entire scene, or if I do want a close-up, 35 looks amazing, and the 2.8 keeps everything in focus. Honestly, this lens is awesome. I should probably use it more for like my narrative stuff, but I just don't because I want more depth of field and bokeh for some reason. It's just my style. But we will, oh, and this lens I think was like $600 or $700. So this is the Mark 1. And yeah, I've had a great experience with that lens. Let's go randomly to this weird looking thing. What in the world is that? So this is a Soviet Union, and I know everybody out there is gonna know what this is. This is a Helios. I can't remember the Helios 44, okay. Which is a vintage lens that is pretty sought after. In fact, I just now noticed it says made in the USSR. This is a very sought after lens, and there's different versions of it. In fact, I have a version here and a version here. And so we won't talk too much about this one anymore because this is the version that doesn't give you the same bokeh and the same like image quality. And I found that out later when I bought the lens and shot with it. I was just kind of confused at why it looked the way it looked. I didn't think it looked that great, and then upon further research, I figured out there's 2 versions, and this is the one you want. And if you're wondering about this thing on the front, this is like a step down or step up ring rather system, to where I can screw on my matte box ring and then put the matte box on there, or an ND filter or something like that. But the Helios is saved for mostly like highly artistic projects. You know, I'll use this for even weddings, things that I want to add a lot of character to, and things where I'm not trying to please a client, and you know, we're not making like an instructional video or a corporate video, something that lends itself to look a little more cinematic. I will use this. I've used this on several sports documentaries for 228 Sports. I've used it, like I said, on weddings, things like that. And yeah, it's just a really cool lens. It has a lot of character, almost too much character. Depending on what you're doing, you don't want to throw that on when you're trying to film, you know, sort of a corporate project or something that you want like a really clean look. It's not gonna give you that. It has a lot of highlight roll off, and then I shoot with this. I think I've only ever shot with a mist filter on it, so it gives it even more of that dreamy look. But I really love that lens. I've added the gears to it, which I've added gears to like most of these vintage lenses, and I have a few more vintage lenses maybe we'll pull out one day, but I just wanted to pull out a few. I want to go, this video would be too long, but I digress. We can move on to, let's go to this big bad boy, which everybody knows what this is. If you're a photographer especially, this lens is legendary, and I think everybody who does photography at least has used it and probably owns it. But this is the Canon 70-200 2.8 Mark I, and just a great lens. I got this, oh sorry, going back to the Helios, these things go for around 150 bucks. But I got this on Macari for, weirdly dude, like $800, which at the time, used, they were going for $1,800. New, of course, there's the Mark I, or yeah, the Mark II now. I think they're going for like $3,000. But there was a photographer selling it, and I checked it out and made sure it was all legit, and he was just getting out of everything completely out of photography, and I was able to pick the lens up for, I think it was $800. But this is a fantastic and very versatile lens, and a very professional lens. I use this a lot for photography, especially at events and things where maybe I want to be not getting as close, but I need to get close-up shots, you know what I mean? Like at a wedding, especially like the kiss, you might want this lens. But I also use it a lot for video. If I'm shooting sports, you know, if I'm shooting football or soccer, and the play is on the other side of the field, it's really nice to have this on there. And the 70-200 is a pretty nice focal length. Now, a little trick I'll tell you, if you're shooting with the EOS R, which is what we're filming this video on, you can actually use the 4K mode, which crops in like a fair amount, and it gives you, this lens might turn into like a 130-400, which is pretty cool. And I actually really enjoy shooting like that because you get this insanely sharp image. It's kind of like a little hack that you can do, I think only on the R though. Like, so like the R6, R5, R7, they don't do that. It's like a negative in most people's eyes, but sometimes they can actually work for you. But yeah, I use this lens a lot. I love this lens. It also has that same ding that I showed you on this L series. Well, no, this is an L series, so I have 2 L series lenses. But it also has that same ding, but I can still thread stuff on it. It's just a little tough, and you gotta know how to do it. And but that is a testament to Canon lenses, because these two fell down some stairs. I was filming a yoga instructional video, and the yoga person walked in and knocked over the tripod, which is what happened to that one. But yeah, Canon lenses are built like a tank. I can tell you that, personal experience. So moving on, this lens right here in the middle is very special to me, and not for any like particular reason other than the fact that it was my first vintage lens that I ever purchased from a thrift store in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. And this is a Olympus OM, let's see, 1.8 50 millimeter. Like I said, I have a lot of 50 millimeters, but this was the lens that I bought when I first got into like knowing that you could adapt older lenses onto newer cameras and have effectively a super fast cinematic looking lens for really cheap. I think I paid $20 for this lens, and this thing is all metal. Again, it has that same ding. Like, why do I always ding up the faces of these things? I have no idea. But yeah, I've used this lens a lot. Like a lot of my older you know, passion projects, whether they be documentaries or even some paid work, I use this lens on. I've used this lens for years as a, before we got this lens, as a, and look, they're actually really comparable, but I used it as the B cameras, like lens in interviews. And a lot of times in my interviews, I like to have this lens kind of high, shooting down across the face. And this lens has a lot of character. I actually did, when I did the review on the Canon C100, all the test shots were shot with this lens and that camera, just to show you, you could pick up this lens and that camera for $500 and like produce super cinematic, or not even cinematic, just really good quality video. So yeah, love that lens. It's kind of got like a sentimental value at this point. I haven't used it in a while. But yeah, we'll move on. So we've got a 50, a 50, a 50, a 50, and a 50. Okay, so this is one of those secrets I told you at the end of the video I would let you in on. Not that it's like some kind of prolific secret that anybody really cares, but I have gotten several messages and emails about it. So apparently there are a few people who care. But this is the Sigma 50mm 1.4 art lens. I love Sigma art lenses. In fact, I personally think they're better than the Canon lenses, the comparable Canon lenses. There's just something about them. And I heard a rumor, a story, and I don't know if it's true. I should probably do some research, but I'm going to tell it to you anyway, that when Sigma was building the art series for the very first time, they actually put the same elements inside of it that they would later on add to the cinema version of these. So basically you're getting their cinema lenses but housed in a photography package. Now, is that true? I don't know. You guys can tell me in the comments. But this lens is like my main lens, kind of period, besides the one on the camera that we're going to talk about in a second. I got this lens when I first started my brand shift and really started understanding what made a more cinematic image rather than a video-y looking image. And I sort of accidentally purchased it. I was kind of naive and I just saw some test footage of it and bought it. Now, fast forward 6-7 years, I've shot every single wedding I've ever shot. I would say 99% of all the shots in all those weddings were shot with this lens. There was a few weddings where I put this on there, the 16-35, and got like a wide shot of the dress. But honestly, everything else has been shot strictly on this lens. And I've had other videographers, I've had videographers' wives, I guess because they didn't want to contact me, pretend to be like getting into video and say, hey, what lens and camera are you using? I really like the way your stuff looks. And for some reason, you know, I just didn't want to tell them. I don't know why. I just thought it was weird they were even asking me. But yeah, this 50mm has served me so well. I love the way the image looks. And I think it's just the art line of lenses. And also 50mm to me looks most like you would see in real life. You know, I see a lot of like videographers posting, and then, you know, we're kind of going to talk a little more about weddings right here, but posting wedding videos, and I can tell they shot it with a 24-70 or this 16-35 because it looks very video-y. You know, people don't look quite like you would see in real life. There's a little bit of a fisheye effect going on, and I found that all the wedding films I made with this, people are blown away by the quality, and I think that's because they're seeing it not only how they would really see it, but also with that nice creamy bokeh background, and it's just, you know, it just looks like dreamy yet relatable. So I really, really love that lens. Okay, as I promised, the very end, which is where we are, I'm gonna tell you what lens is my favorite. This one is a close second. In fact, it might just be a tie, but other than this lens, the lens that we are currently shooting on is the Sigma 18-35mm 1.8 art lens. Everybody watching this, if you don't know about this lens, you've been living under a rock, and if you do, then you do. It's just an amazing lens. It's very versatile. It has a premium quality to it, and these lenses in general, they're built like tanks. And when you shoot with this Sigma 18-35, you don't feel like you're shooting on a photography lens that costs less than $1,000. In fact, there's a company out there that takes those lenses, and for $1,000, I think you can get it rehoused into a very nice cinema housing because the elements in these lenses are just so good. And going back to that rumor, even though I know it's not true, I like to pretend it is because it's just kind of a cool story. And I use the 18-35 mostly when I'm shooting documentaries or commercials or things like that because it does have such a clean look. And I do like to dirty up my images with my, diffusion filters and different filters that I put in front of the lens. So I'd actually rather have like a really nice, sharp looking lens. Not too sharp, not like this. Of course, that's a different focal length, so it's a different application, but I'd rather have like a really clean image to start and then dirty it up because you can't have a dirty, character-driven lens and then clean it up. Does that make sense? Like you can't go the other route. I can always alter the image or kind of like add something to add highlight, roll off and stuff like that. But yeah, that's all the lenses that I own, minus a few that aren't even worth mentioning. And I hope you enjoyed the video. This is just something I thought would be cool and fun to do. If you have any questions or comments, please do put those below. If you have experience with any of these lenses and have any tips that I don't know about, I would love to know because I'd like to get more out of these lenses if I can. Otherwise, I really appreciate you watching the video. Like and subscribe, and we will see you in the next one. Peace.